Hey everyone, this episode of Talk About It Tuesday is going to be all about going to your first card show. As someone who regularly sets up at card shows as a vendor and as someone who often attends them myself, I'm going to give you some tips and advice to make your first card show an amazing experience. I know card shows can seem a little intimidating, especially if it's your first card show, but there's no reason to be nervous. Even though there's a ton of vendors with a variety of products, everyone's there to have fun, and I guarantee you're going to meet a lot of super nice people in the community, and you're also going to leave the show with some pretty cool stuff that you buy. There are a lot of different types of card shows. Sometimes there are TCG only card shows, trading card games. Sometimes that's sports cards only shows. Sometimes it'll be a specific Pokemon show. Or you also have comic book shows, collectible shows, or ones that really have um, all of those things combined. My first piece of advice for going to any card show is to have a budget in mind. I know that can seem kind of lame and not fun, but you know what's really not fun is debt. So if you only want to spend $50, bring $50 in cash. Or if you have self control, make sure that when you whip out that credit card or that Venmo app, to only budget $50. But if you have an unlimited budget, go crazy. Card shows are the perfect opportunity for that. So, another piece of advice, my second piece of advice for going to your first card show, is make sure you're going to the right card show, or do a little research into the show that you're going to. If you really want to go to a card show and you're looking to get some Pokemon, make sure you're not going to a sports only card show. That will definitely save you some time and some gas money by making sure you are going to the right type of event. Also, make sure to look into whether they have an admission fee. A lot of card shows do have a small admission fee. If you go to a larger show, it might be something like $15 a person compared to maybe $2 or $3 for a smaller card show. A lot of card shows do only take cash for admission, so I would make sure to bring a small amount of cash anyways. It's just to be safe. You don't want to show up somewhere and basically be turned away because you don't have $2 in cash. I think something that's important going into a card show is having a general idea of what you're looking for. Are you looking for a particular card, or are you looking, for a particular set like Pokemon? If you're looking for Pokemon and you're trying to master the Stellar Crown set, or are you looking for a specific sealed product, a certain slab, a certain collectible? These things are important to think about because it can also help you with your budget and to stay on track. Personally, when I go to a card show, even when I set up as a vendor, I do take a little break sometimes and walk around. Um, I am trying to collect every Eevee and Evolutions card there is out there. So when I go to a card show, I like to pick up a couple Eevee cards each show. Generally, I max myself out at spending $50 per card show. So if I get one card and that's $50, I'm done. Or if I can find, 10 cards in that budget, that's fine too. Typically at card shows, you're going to find a lot of single cards. You'll find some sealed products, booster boxes, elite trainer boxes, things like that. A lot of graded cards. And sometimes you'll find collectibles like comic books. I found at our most recent card show, someone had this really big crocheted Snorlax. I've never seen anything like it. It was so cute. I've seen custom Pokemon stickers, 3D printed keychains, so many cool things. So, seriously, do at least one lap before you buy anything, unless you're like, absolutely, I need to get this. But if you do stop by a vendor's table and you haven't looked around the whole show yet and you see something you really want, but you're not sure you want to buy it yet, it's okay to ask a vendor if they'll hold it for you for a little bit. Some vendors will say yes, they'll put it to the side. I know when I'm a vendor at a card show, if someone's like, hey, can you hold this card? Like, I just want to do a quick lap and I'll be back. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Not going to hold it for the entire card show, but just ask. But I think a super courteous thing to do, if you do ask someone to hold something for you and you end up not wanting it anymore, it is super courteous to go back and tell that vendor, hey, thanks, thanks for holding this card for me, but I changed my mind. It's definitely like the polite thing to do, and vendors will appreciate that. When I'm set up as a vendor at a card show and maybe a parent will come by with a younger kid and they're like, this is Tina's first card show. I always give them the advice of walk around the whole show before you commit to getting anything. You never know what you're going to find. Don't spend your entire budget at one table, because then you might go to two tables down and find something that you want even more, and either you have to go past your budget or you don't you feel a little disappointed. So definitely scope out the entire show. You might be surprised by a lot of things you find there. So I think that's one of the best pieces of advice too. Okay, so now you've walked around the entire card show and you're back at a vendor's table and there's something you really want. The next biggest piece of advice I can give you is to do your research on that particular product. Okay? A great place to research single cards is on tcgplayer.com. You can look up the exact card you're interested in. It's going to tell you the current market price. It's going to tell you some recent sales. So, what the last card on that website sold for. It's really important to not skip this step, because you don't want to end up buying a card for $100 that market price is like 20. That would be awful. So tcgplayer.com is a really great website for that kind of research. Another great place to look up products is eBay, but you're going to want to go into recently sold, not just listed prices. But the recently sold on eBay can be a little tricky because you might find the exact graded card recently sold for $100 yesterday, and then the day before might be $50. So you can get a really big range. Also, if someone does like the sold to the best bid, it doesn't tell you what it was sold for. But I feel like you can find a general solid idea. Oh my goodness, I'm a hot mess today. A general idea of what a product is worth on eBay too. You may have noticed that my lighting is now different. That's because I started recording during the day, then had to stop, and I'm now recording at night. But nonetheless, we continue. In another video, I will be showing you step by step how to look up prices and comps on eBay and TCG Player. But for now, for this video, I will just tell you that it is definitely a good idea to look up market value for any products you're interested in buying at a card show. So there are a couple of ways you can approach a vendor when you want to buy something from them. One, you can just say, hey, like, I'd like to buy this. And then they'll say, okay, well, the card says 25, so it's 25. And then you can start your negotiation process. Or you can have that $25 card and say, what's the best you can do on this card? And then that kind of starts the negotiation process. If they say the best they can do is 25, you can still say, hey, what about 20? And if they're like, the best I can do is 25, then the price is 25. You can also approach saying, hey, I would love to buy this card. It says 25, but I'm seeing market value is around 17 or 18. I was wondering if you had any wiggle room on this product. And they'll let you know if they're willing to negotiate or not, and then you can depend based on their answer whether you want to buy that or not. And another negotiation idea is if you buy multiple items, try to see if you can get a deal on like a multi-item purchase. Say you got 3 elite trainer boxes for Pokemon and they tell you that the total is going to be like 150, then you can say, hey, if I buy 3 of these, since I'm buying 3, can I get these for like 130? And sometimes people will give you a slight discount just because you are buying multiples of something. And also keep in mind, some vendors have cash prices versus like credit card or Venmo prices. Some vendors will give you an extra, a little bit more off just because it's cash. My gosh. And personally, if I want to buy a card and it's only like $1 or $2 over market price, I typically don't try to negotiate. I'm just like, whatever, I'll take it. But if it's like a big difference, I will try. And everyone's different. If you really want to get it at market value, then you can also try to get down like $1 or $2. Something to also keep in mind when you are hoping to negotiate with a vendor, don't come in with like a ridiculous offer. If someone's selling something for $100, do not offer $20. That will probably offend a lot of vendors. Plus, if someone is listing something at $100, they're obviously not going to just take $80 off the price tag. So come in with something more reasonable. Vendors are more likely to work with you if you are coming in with a reasonable and respectful negotiation price. And something to remember is you do not have to buy. If you're negotiating with someone and it's still not at the price that you want it to be, you can say no thank you. You can not buy it and walk away. That's not a problem. You are allowed to do that. And I would say that I think most vendors are willing to negotiate unless there's a certain item that they are just firm on. I know for us, we typically have wiggle room with our products, but we do have some that we bought at a certain price, therefore we cannot go lower than whatever we bought that product at. Another piece of advice that I have is if you're buying a single card, if you're buying a graded card, if you're buying sealed product, check the condition. If someone's asking for a single card, for instance, for market value for a near mint card, and you think the card is moderately played, you shouldn't be paying market price for a near mint card. And the same thing can go for graded cards. Obviously, the condition of the physical card is kept safe in the hard plastic shell. But also, if the plastic exterior is cracked or chipped or super scratched, you might also be able to get a little more off of that price, or you just may not want to get that. I personally wouldn't buy a graded card if it was super scratched or like the hard plastic was chipped in any way. And for sealed products, if you're keeping the sealed product for like a display or a collection, long-term hold, I wouldn't get anything that had any tears or rips in the plastic seal. But if you are going to just open something, to get the packs out, that really doesn't matter much as long as it's not like an obvious resealed type of situation. If you already have your own collection, whether that's Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, sports cards, anything like that, it could be a good idea to bring some of that collection with you, whether it's, one of those cool little briefcases or in a singles binder. If you are really looking for a particular product, you might be able to trade for it, which is something really fun to do at a card show. You can potentially walk away with something you really want without having to spend any additional money if a vendor just so happens to want to trade what you have for something that they have. And as someone who is frequently a vendor at card shows, something that vendors want you to know that is if you are just wanting to sell your cards or sell your sealed sealed products, or you're looking to sell graded cards, vendors most likely aren't going to pay you market value for your products. Most vendors don't keep things they buy at card shows for personal collection. They buy those things at a lower percentage, maybe 70 or 80% of the market, because then they also have to sell those for a profit. A vendor is not going to buy a card from you at 100% market value, because if they sold it at market value, they would make no money and it would just be pointless. So that's something to also consider. And that can even go for trades. They can trade you, but they might not put 100% market value of what you have towards what you're going to be trading with them. So you have to keep that in mind. And just not be totally offended. If someone's offering you like 30% market price for something you have, that's a little ridiculous. I feel like 70 to 80 is definitely fair for a vendor to pay for something that you want to sell or trade. So that's going to wrap up today's episode of Talk About It Tuesday. Going to your first card show. Hopefully, you have found some solid advice from me to navigate the card show world. If you have any additional questions, you can ask them in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe and like and share with your friends. We'll be back next Tuesday with another episode of Talk About It Tuesday. Not totally sure what I'm going to talk about yet, but you will find out tomorrow. You will find out next Tuesday, not tomorrow. It is not Talk About It Wednesday. All right, see you next Tuesday.